Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, look, I want to get this across right at the start of the video. There were way too many good cards revealed for Battle Region in one go yesterday, because they didn't do a reveal in the past couple of weeks like they probably should have done, because of the whole spoilers for Legends Arceus and all of that. So we're going to have to go through like 11 new cards, I think, in this video, but I really do want to point out that does not mean we are rushing through bad cards. Several of the cards in this video are really, really good. We just literally don't have time to go through many of them in a bit more detail, at least at the moment, because of how many were revealed. But please don't think this is a video where I'm just grouping together a bunch of rubbish cards. These cards are really, really good. Several of them I expect to see a huge amount of play. We've just got to go through all of them in one go, because we don't have time to take it more slowly. Starting off with Vileplume, and I should mention all of our translations here do come from the lovely Antoine Boulet. Now, 150 HP is a bit low for a Stage 2, which is rubbish, and the first attack, 1 grass, 1 colourless, 50 damage, heal 30, I'm not excited about, and I'm not sure you should be either. But the second attack, grass double colourless, 90 damage, flip a coin. If heads, your opponent cannot play supporters from their hand during their next turn, and if tails, your opponent can't play item cards from their hand during their next turn. So whichever way you fall, this is going to lock them. They're either going to be item locked or supporter locked. And I don't know about you, but most of the time, most turns, I want to play a supporter and I want to play a bunch of items. Of course, let's not forget you can always play Glimwood Tangle to try and manipulate this. It won't be perfect, but it'll work a fair bit. But your opponent is either going to be item locked or supporter locked. Whichever way you go here, this is still going to be a very, very good attack. It's going to hurt your opponent, but it is free energy on a Stage 2 and it might be a little slow. Now, Hisuian Vasque Legion, this is the first time we've ever seen this Pokemon in the game, and I like this one. 120 I don't like, that is too easy to be KO'd on the bench, and Water double colourless, 80 damage, I don't like. However, 1 Water Energy, Spiteful Dive, I really hope that ends up being the name when it comes over here, 30 damage, but it's a revenge attack. If any of your Pokemon were knocked out by damage from an attack during your opponent's last turn, this attack does 90 more damage, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. 120 and confusion for a single energy. That's ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely ridiculous. You're not hitting a great weakness right now, but it's a 2-hit KO on basically any Pokemon V, combined with Confusion, which is going to force them to either get out the active or flip a coin to be able to attack. So yeah, this is very nice. Also need to give a shout out to Hisuian Vasque in here, because for no energy, search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench. And I don't just like this as a pre-evolution of Hisuian Vasque Legion, I like this as a card in its own right. We don't use many of these kind of core for family, or school gathering as it is now. We don't use many of them in the game at the moment, but believe me, if you're after that kind of attack, 0 energy, and the 0 energy is crucial because it means you can use your energy for the turn to retreat whatever's in the active and then whack this up and use it for 0 energy. I absolutely adore this. There is a new Miss Magius coming. 90 damage is absolutely appalling, but remember, Level Ball exists again now, so it's not actually that bad. It's nice to be able to search it out. For 2 energy, a Psychic and a Colourless, you deal 50 damage and Confusion. No. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, there's not much to be excited about here. It's just not a particularly good attack. But for 1 Psychic Energy, you've got Ominous Spell. Your opponent reveals their hand. If they have 4 or more cards in hand, choose all but 3, and your opponent shuffles those cards back into their deck. I.e., you choose 3 to leave in their hand, and then all the others that you chose, you shuffle back into their deck. And the hope here is that although you've got to leave 3 cards in their hand, the hope is that you leave 3 pretty bad cards, you give them free energy that they don't need, or free Pokemon they can't evolve into right now, or whatever, and they basically end up locked out of the game at that point. It's not always going to work, and it is an attack on a stage 1, so you've kind of got to use this turn 2, and even then, there's every possibility, you got to leave them with 3 cards. There's a good chance they're going to be able to work their way out of it. You can't give them a bad enough hand. But when this works, ladies and gentlemen, this is nice. Now, Glade, on the face of it, looks absolutely amazing. What we've got with Glade here is Psychic Double Colorless, 160 damage. Move an energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench. It's fine to preserve your energy if you're about to get KO'd. That's not why we like Glade. Glade's got the ability Buddy Catch. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for a supporter card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. And my first reaction every time I see this kind of ability is, oh my god, that's ridiculous and broken, that's going to change the game. And then I remind myself that we had a Dragonite that did this. And not only did we have a Dragonite that did this, we had a Dragonite that did this in the same format as we had Lance, that would allow you to search your deck for Dragon Pokemon and bench them, even if they were Stage 2. And I did see a couple of rogue deck lists playing Lance and Dragonite, but not many, and not mainstream lists. So we've had a Stage 2 that does this before, and it didn't see a huge amount of play. Put very simply, if you want to do this nowadays, don't use this, use Altaria. Because the Altaria from Evolving Skies has a very similar ability, except you put the card on top of your deck rather than into your hand. But put it quite simply, it is easier to have a Stage 1 and be able to get a card off the top of your deck than it is to get a Stage 2 out. Especially one with which you're not going to attack. I still think people are going to try Glade, and I like it, but honestly, I'd rather have Altaria. And we saw Dragonite do this before, and Dragonite did not see much play at all, and Dragonite had Lance. We've also got Diancie coming here, however, and Diancie's really interesting. Once again, we got 90 HP, so ripe for level ball, yay, etc. And we've got the kind of phenomenal ability Princess Curtain. As long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, whenever your opponent plays a supporter card from their hand, prevent all effects of that card done to your benched basic Pokemon. So basically what this allows you to do is turn off boss's orders. Like there are other supporter cards out there, but let's not beat around the bush, we're talking boss's orders here. We're talking about, hey, I'm going to sit here in the active, you might want to use boss's orders, and that's adorable, but you can't. And in that way, it's actually very similar to the Articuno from Team Up, that as long as it was active, your opponent couldn't use supporter cards on your benched water Pokemon. The thing is, this only works when you're active. So essentially, you either need to be using Diancie's attack for the entire game, or this is just a temporary help while you've got Diancie active. It also only protects your benched basic Pokemon, so as soon as you start evolving, etc., things go wrong. Well, what we've got here for one colourless energy is 20 damage, draw 2 cards. It's actually really good. It's actually quite cool. The 20 damage is by the by. It's fine for poking and, getting damage on there and whittling them down very slowly. But nah, let's not get too caught up in that. Basically, you have Diancie in the active drawing cards, and you force your opponent to KO Diancie because they're not allowed to play stuff like boss's orders. It's a decent early game plan that I can get behind. Now, Hisuian Overkill is making its debut in this particular set, and like so many of these Hisuian Pokémon we've seen, you get a free attack. Yay! It's a good free attack, though. Well, I'll be honest with you, right? The non-free attack, Darkness, Colourless Energy, 50 damage, stops them retreating. Nah. I'm not saying it's bad. It's not bad. But it's 2 energy and it's only 50 damage. I like stopping them retreating. We talked about this a lot. It's an effect that comes around quite a bit in the game. But you're a stage 1 for 2 energy and only doing 50 damage. That all basically adds up to something that I can't really get behind, and I'm sorry. However, for 0 energy, Intense Poison. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. Put 5 damage counted instead of 1 on that Pokemon during Pokemon Checkup, which is the between turns thing as it's been for a little while. Poison taking 5 damage counters between turns? It's not bad for 0 energy. Bearing in mind we've still got the Toxicroak from Sword and Shield for a little while, which will turn that from 5 up to 7, and then 9, etc, etc. It's going to take a while to build up, and your opponent is going to go to the bench to get around it. And I feel like this is one of those attacks where I look at it and go, whoa! Poison with 5 damage counters, you know, quintuple poison for 0 energy, and then I actually think about it for a while and I'm like, I still don't really want to use it. Like, there are still way better attacks I want to use on other Pokemon. It's good for 0 energy, but does that mean we actually are going to put this into a top deck and it's going to be good? I'm not sure. One I am pretty sure about, though, is Mightyena. It's got the ability Hustle Bark, which incidentally is a great name. If your opponent has any Pokemon VMAX in play, this Pokemon's attacks cost 3 colorless energy less, i.e., the attack is free. And look, it doesn't need to be against a VMAX. All we need is that there is a VMAX in play, and you could be attacking anything and doing 160 for 0 energy. You do have to do 60 damage to yourself, which is a bit sad. And you do get to hit for weakness, so, yeah, this one-hit KOs Mew VMAX for no energy. This is literally a Stage 1 Pokemon that gets a one-hit KO on Mew VMAX for 0 energy. Because they've got 310 HP and a weakness to darkness, so 160 doubled is 320, and Mew VMAX means there is a VMAX in play. So if you bench 2 Poochyena, your opponent can KO both of them at once, and you'll take 3 prizes off of Mew. Now, it's not just Mew, there are other ones out there, but Mew is obviously the most relevant among them. This is ridiculous. Like, genuinely ridiculous. Some people have already mentioned Zoroark, and I like the idea of Zoroark here. That's the one that can essentially switch itself with a Stage 1 in the discard pile. So you play around with a bunch of different Stage 1s and switch them as appropriate. And clearly, if you're playing that kind of deck, this is great. I love the idea of just having a cheeky 160 against any deck. But let's not make any bones about this. This is just a ridiculous Mew counter. Like a proper dumb over-the-top Mew counter, and I absolutely love this. I told you there were some really, really good cards in this video, and this is absolutely one of them. Moving on, we got ourselves a Hoot-Hoot. Yes, a Hoot-Hoot, not a Noctowl. And this is another one which is really good. This Hoot-Hoot here, it's got the ability Keep Watch. Basic energy attached to your bench Pokemon can't be discarded by the effect of your opponent's items or supporter cards, which means that anything that tries to get rid of your energy, like Crushing Hammer, can't. Now, it only works on your bench. As soon as you move into the active, it's over. But remember, you're talking about a single prize Pokemon here, so Path to the Peak is not going to work to turn off Hoohoo. Your opponent's going to actually have to KO it. So you leave Hoohoo sitting on the bench, and then all of your bench Pokemon have their energy protected from stuff like Crushing Hammer. This is amazing. It is worth pointing out that the translation we've got from Antoine, and Antoine is generally very good at this, is that it stops energy being discarded. So a card like Team Yell Grunt that put the energy into their hand would still work, because the energy is not discarded in that situation. It is put back into the hand. But yeah, if you're scared of stuff like Crushing Hammer, Hoohoo, it won't protect your active, but it will protect your bench. It's pretty good. It's also a 50 HP Pokemon that is going to be absolutely wrecked by stuff like Inteleon. But, you know that. You've been warned, alright? Moving on, we got ourselves a Caldeo. Looking extremely happy, running across some water there. And 1 colorless energy, 20 damage, let's move on. But a water and a colourless, 10 damage plus 20 more for each of your bench. Now, truth be told, generally speaking, you're only hitting 110 here. 5 bench Pokemon, 110. It's fine. It's not one of the better Pokemon we're looking at in this video, but a basic Pokemon 2 energy hitting 110. Something we at least needed to mention here, alright? Now, Rhyperior is another one of those that just keeps having super interesting cards. We keep seeing Rhyperior cards that I want to love, and then it ends up not being as good as it should be. which is sad. I mean, 190 HP is nuts on a stage 2, that's huge. And Rock Tackle, fighting, free, colourless, 180 plus 30 to itself. Let's not pretend that's a great attack. 4 energy on a stage 2 is a lot. But 1 fighting energy, Boulder Blast. Discard the top card of your deck. If that card is an energy, this attack does 100 more damage, then attach that energy to this Pokemon. So you're doing 150 for a single energy and accelerating to yourself so that you're actually building up to that bigger Rock Tackle attack. Yeah. You're going to need to use stuff like Oranguru, which will be rotating out about 3 or 4 months after this comes out, to try and swap an energy in your hand with the top card of your deck so that you can actually make this fire. But that's alright by me, ladies and gentlemen. That sounds alright by me. It's a stage 2 and you got to muck about getting the energy on top of your deck. I don't think it's going to work that much. I don't think it's going to be a top deck. But you had better believe I'm going to be wanting to test this bad boy out. And finally, we've got Roserade. And this one, I cheeky like this one. For 1 grass energy, you do 30 damage plus poison. I would like that on a basic. I don't like it on a stage 1. It's too much. When I get up to a stage 1, even if I'm only attaching 1 energy, I want more. Quite frankly, I want more. But grass colourless energy, 60 damage? No. If your opponent's active is affected by a special condition, this also does 60 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Oh, now that I can get behind. And look, we've got a million different ways to put special conditions on your opponent's active. Something like Garbodor from Rebel Clash will work quite nicely. Poisons your opponent's active. So we've got ways to get special conditions on. That's not a problem. And what we're doing here for 2 energy is 60 to the active, 60 to the bench. Bearing in mind, we've seen in the past stuff like Landorus that does 30 to the active, 30 to the bench. And there are good 60 HP Pokemon around. You know, when you're playing Inteleon and Inteleon sees a bunch of play, the best Sobble is probably the one from Chilling Reign that has 60 HP, because it's got Keep Cooling to get your other Pokemon out. So basically, you KO Sobble while doing 60 to the active. There's still a chance that this is not enough damage and it takes too long to get the KOs you need, but certainly against setup decks or decks with lower HP, this can be extremely useful. And there is a lot of potential in this one. So there we go. That was a lot of Pokemon. I think Hoohoo is going to be super annoyed against Crushing Hammer. I think Mightyena is legitimately a great counter. I think Basculegion and Basculin could end up being really good. There are some Pokemon in this video which are absolutely worth getting excited about. That's what I think, at least. I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at Diancie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.